If you see it normally in Pompeii, you would think this is a public bath complex. There were several in the city, but the special thing is we are in a private home here. So someone had really a lot of money and a lot of space.
For nearly 2,000 years, Pompeii has been regarded as the most tragic symbol in human history, a city frozen in its final moment, buried under 4 meters of ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. But recent excavations have unveiled something no one anticipated. Beneath the ash that once preserved death, archaeologists have uncovered traces of life evidence that people returned to Pompeii and even lived atop the ruins of the city that had been scorched. What drew them back to this former hell? Archaeological evidence shows they didn't return just for riches or buried treasures. They rebuilt collapsed homes, rekindled fires in the forges, transformed buried ground floors into cellars, and dwelled on the surviving rooftops of the past. Their traces are faint, like shadows in the mist, a repurposed millstone, a knife mark on a wall, a terracotta lamp still caked with soot. All of it evokes a different Pompeii, a parallel city, where the living and the dead coexist across 2 geological layers. Archaeologists call it the post-79 AD reoccupation, but those who believe in the Earth's energies say otherwise, that the ash still smolders, still emanates gases and magnetic fields from deep within the mountain. The volcanic rock particles contain piezoelectric minerals capable of glowing and emitting sound under pressure, leading many to believe that Pompeii still breathes, still resonates with echoes of memory. An Italian geophysicist once wrote in his excavation journal, "There are nights when I hear cracking sounds from within the ash, as if someone is moving beneath the warm soil." And so, in the ashes of Vesuvius, an ancient story begins to transform. Pompeii is no longer a dead city, but a slumbering body where ash holds the heat, earth preserves the memories, and people return not by chance, but because they are summoned. Perhaps they sensed something that modern science is only now beginning to touch, a memory energy field lingering from the catastrophe, where death has never fully departed. Recent excavations in the Insula Meridionalis area of Pompeii have provided evidence for a phenomenon previously unconfirmed: human reoccupation following the disaster of 79 AD. Archaeological data indicates that, rather than being completely abandoned, the city witnessed a period of temporary residency lasting for decades, possibly centuries. Archaeologists have discovered numerous structures rebuilt on the foundations of ancient ruined homes. Some ground floors buried under ash were converted into storage cellars, while upper levels were reconstructed using recycled materials, crumbled bricks, compacted ash, and limestone. Many bread ovens, millstones, and kilns still bear signs of use. These findings suggest that people returned to exploit or inhabit the site under extremely harsh conditions: air polluted with sulfur gases, water contaminated with minerals, and soil still warm from geothermal activity. The director of the Pompeii archaeological site, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, describes this reoccupied area as a makeshift city sprouting in the shadow of the dead one. He posits that this phenomenon may reflect survival efforts by those unable to flee the devastated region, or by migrant groups seeking temporary settlement. Archaeological evidence also indicates that this reoccupation occurred in an organized manner. Cellars were repurposed into small food production areas, while upper levels show traces of domestic life: kitchens, beds, pottery, and oil lamps. A notable point is the presence of symbols etched on walls, including spiral motifs often associated with the Roman goddess Fortuna, symbol of fate and rebirth. Researchers cannot yet confirm whether these are religious signs, beliefs, or mere folk decorations, but they suggest the possibility that post-disaster residents of Pompeii maintained a strong spiritual life amid the ruins. Alongside the physical evidence, modern geophysical data offers a fresh perspective. Studies from 2022-2025 by the Naples Institute of Geology recorded that the ground at Pompeii remains 2 to 3 degrees warmer on average than surrounding areas. This phenomenon is known as thermal remnants, Earth's thermal memory, describing the ability to retain geothermal energy long after the volcano cools. Some researchers argue that this lingering heat may have facilitated temporary resettlement, especially during colder months. Magnetic field surveys of the area have also detected small fluctuations, believed to be consequences of piezoelectric minerals in the volcanic ash minerals that can emit weak electrical signals under pressure. Though this phenomenon has not been proven to relate to the residents' lives, it helps explain why Pompeii may have retained a geologically dynamic state for centuries after the eruption. From an archaeological viewpoint, The existence of a second Pompeii raises profound questions about human adaptability. Instead of fully abandoning the destroyed land, a small segment of the population chose to return, recycling, utilizing, and surviving amid the ruins. They did not rebuild a proper Roman city, but created a new form of community, semi-wild, informal, yet organized and distinctly identifiable. As recent excavations expand beyond the central area, Pompeii begins to reveal a different story, not just of destruction, but of the Earth's own capacity for remembrance. Archaeologists describe the city as a geological social data archive, where ash, rock, and molten materials preserve the entire memory of a civilization. Stratigraphic analysis clearly shows 3 phases before, during, and after the 79 AD eruption. In some locations, the ash is recompacted, bearing soot marks, evidence of post-disaster fire activity. These traces align with the 2025 discovery of the Pompeii reoccupation after the city was buried. Homes were rebuilt on ruined foundations, cellars became food storage, upper floors served as living quarters, and ovens and millstones remained operational for decades. Modern geophysical data helps explain why life could continue there. Research from the University of Naples records that Pompeii's ground remains about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius warmer than surrounding regions. This phenomenon is called thermal remanence, Earth's thermal memory. Describing the long-term retention of geothermal energy after the volcano cools, according to Dr. Lucia Moretti, this energy could persist for centuries, providing stable climatic conditions and keeping the soil warm year-round. That made the Pompeii region habitable, despite its prior destruction. Magnetic field measurements have also detected small deviations in the ash's magnetic orientation, creating anomalous magnetic streaks, the result of quartz and feldspar minerals realigning as they cooled. Though this is a physical phenomenon, it shows that the material beneath Pompeii remains active, storing energy from the eruption moment. In other words, the city not only preserves the shapes of death, but also retains the dynamic imprints of the life once buried. From 2025 onward, the City of Embers project, funded by the European Heritage Fund, has digitized the area using 3D scanning and artificial intelligence. Thousands of images have been reconstructed to reveal that post-disaster structures had clear planning signs of a genuine survival community, not just scavenging groups. Data also confirms that some areas were used continuously until the 5th century AD. These results compel the scientific community to reconsider Pompeii. The city is not merely a witness to a moment of annihilation, but a complex ecosystem of memory, where nature and humanity together store information about the past. Volcanic ash preserves images, materials, and urban structures. Geothermal heat retains warmth, and magnetic fields hold the direction of the final moment. Today, when gazing upon Pompeii, archaeologists no longer call it a dead city, but a geological body with vital signs, a place where life, though buried, still leaves measurable, decodable, and understandable signals in the ashes of Vesuvius. Pompeii continues to recount its own story, not through words, but through data, minerals, and the lingering warmth from 2,000 years ago. Recent geophysical surveys at Pompeii reveal that the city still emits inexplicable signals not from humans, but from the Earth itself, beneath the thick ash surface, where post-disaster habitation layers once existed. Devices record small but recurring fluctuations in magnetic fields, ground temperature, and ambient sounds. In early 2023, a research team from the Naples Institute of Geology, in collaboration with Italy's Heritage Agency, deployed geomagnetic sensors along Via Stabiana. The instruments detected cyclic oscillations of about 40 to 45 seconds, with very low but stable amplitude, occurring most frequently in areas once home to kilns and ash cellars. This phenomenon does not match natural seismic data, nor does it stem from surface human activity. Some experts suggest it could be a piezoelectric effect, weak electrical currents generated when quartz crystals in the ash are compressed or expanded by temperature changes. Dr. Lucia Moretti observes, "These signals are not evidence of life, but traces showing that Pompeii's mineral structure still responds to the environment. They resemble the lingering breath of stone." This finding opens a new research avenue. Could this activity have influenced ancient humans' perceptions when they returned to live on this land? Seismic audio recordings add another intriguing detail. While archaeologists worked in repurposed cellars, once used as workshops or ovens, ground microphones occasionally captured low-frequency sounds below 20 Hz, akin to infrasound. This is the type of wave inaudible to the human ear, but perceptible by the body as subtle vibrations. In the porous ash and empty cavities, these waves resonate, creating unusually prolonged echoes. Some researchers believe this is why many describe Pompeii as a place where you can hear the earth shift. From these physical signals emerges an anthropological hypothesis that post-disaster Romans may have sensed these oscillations and interpreted them through religious language. The spiral symbols etched on walls often linked to Fortuna or Vulcan. The god of fire might reflect a belief that the land was still alive, and the deities lingered in the dust, though no unified conclusion exists. Many archaeologists view this as evidence of a rare intersection between science and spirituality in the same site. Pompeii not only preserves human images, but also retains the energy of the destruction process, an energy that can be measured, yet easily mistaken for the supernatural. 2,000 years after the disaster, the city still emits signals faint, steady, and never fully extinguished. In scientific circles, they call it residual activity. But for those who have walked this ground, it feels like a reminder there are places where the past still operates right beneath our feet. As the thick ash layers of Pompeii are peeled back through excavation seasons, archaeologists not only uncover evidence of life, but also encounter traces of a parallel spiritual existence, silent rituals amid the ruins. In the Insula Meridionalis area, the Pompeii Archaeological Park team discovered small cellars rebuilt after the disaster, containing remnants of ovens and rudimentary altars. Chemical analysis shows the surrounding ash holds traces of charcoal, small animal bones, and sea salt crystals, a mixture often used in Roman purification rites. Some walls retain etched symbols of spirals or repeating circles, commonly associated with the goddess Fortuna and Vulcan emblems of fate and fire. These traces suggest that the reoccupying residents of Pompeii not only sought survival, but also strived to re-establish spiritual order. After the catastrophe, they may have believed the land remained under the influence of volcanic deities, and that their existence depended on maintaining relations with those forces. Fire offerings, incense burning, or salt scattering might have been performed regularly to invoke peace, as well as to appease the smoldering earth below. Certain artifacts support this hypothesis in a repurposed room in the southern area. A small bronze statue of the goddess Fortuna was found, placed on a 40-centimeter high brick pedestal. Around it were 5 oil lamps and 2 pottery vessels etched with identical spiral symbols. Inside the vessels was a mixture of pine resin, charred rice grains, and crushed eggshells, materials used in the offering of renewal rites documented in ancient Roman texts. Archaeologists term this post-disaster religion a form of restorative faith, where humans seek to rebuild belief in a destroyed environment. Historian Joanne Barry remarks, "This is not just a psychological response, it is a survival mechanism when the surrounding world destabilizes. People use rituals to recreate a sense of order. The presence of religious symbols intermingled with everyday living areas shows that in reoccupied Pompeii, the boundary between sacred and profane nearly vanished. Kitchens, pottery workshops, storage cellars all could become sites of ceremony. For them, living amid the ashes meant dwelling amid the world of the dead. So every act of survival was also an act of offering. These rituals were not merely expressions of faith, but evidence of spiritual adaptation after catastrophe. Beneath Vesuvius's ash, Pompeii existed as a liminal society poised between life and death, between belief and science, between the human world and the world of memory. 2,000 years after the disaster, Pompeii continues to evolve. No longer a dead city, it has become one of the world's most vibrant archaeological laboratories. Under the touch of technology, every stone, every ash layer, every cracked wall is being digitized, reconstructed, and retold in the story left by ancient Romans. From 2025 onward, the City of Embers project, funded by the European Heritage Fund, has implemented full 3D scanning of Pompeii's reoccupation zones. Hundreds of thousands of images, LiDAR data, and satellite photos are compiled to recreate thermal maps, geological structures, and post-disaster urban models. Artificial intelligence is employed to restore vanished architectural elements from collapsed roofs, charred walls, to ash-covered cellars. The simulations reveal that Pompeii, after the eruption, was not utterly desolate. It had a second life cycle, enduring at least 3 more centuries before final abandonment in the 5th century. In parallel, international research teams are using geothermal data and magnetic sensors to monitor the residual signals underground. Temperatures remain higher than the regional average, and magnetic fields still fluctuate faintly, suggesting that the energy within Pompeii's earth has never fully extinguished. This leads many scientists to liken the city to a geothermal memory ecosystem, where energy and history coexist. Archaeologists see Pompeii as proof of how past and present can intersect through technology. 3D scanning data not only aids preservation, but creates virtual spaces for the public to enter and experience the city at its final moment. At the Naples Archaeological Museum, the Pompeii Reborn virtual reality system allows viewers to walk reconstructed streets, hear the murmur of ovens, and see ash falling slowly, simulating both destruction and rebirth. But beyond the technological aspect, Pompeii poses a deeper question. Why does the memory of a disaster endure so vividly? Historian Gabriel Zuchtriegel once said, "We are haunted by Pompeii, not just because it was destroyed, but because it persists as if death here was never complete." Pompeii is not merely ruins of the past. It is testament to humanity's instinct for resilience, the ability to rebuild upon one's own wreckage, and to vanish but never be forgotten, as ash layers continue to be lifted and new data recorded. The city lives again not through breath, but through knowledge, in that moment. Pompeii ceases to be a symbol of ending. It becomes evidence of an ancient truth that humanity has yet to cease proving every civilization can die, but memory cannot.